Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Cycle Jerks Podcast, episode 149. This is a bonus episode. We're recording this on a Thursday night. Got Dave riding shotgun. How you doing, Dave?
Good,
Yeah,
great. Yeah, except I don't have my Garmin, but that's the story for another time. Go on.
he's been crying in his beer ever since he got on. But
No, yeah.
hey, yeah, poor guy, no guard.
So
What will you
Garmin.
do? It's really sad, Dave. Come on. Okay, so this episode, this is something that's been in the works for a very long time, and something I'm super excited. This person's sitting in my office, and I'm sitting on my front porch because we got audio issues. But we are super excited to have BMX Pro traveling the world for the last 30 years as a pro BMX dude. He's uh he's from Hungary. There's a reality show there, Exatlon, where he's placed third one season. Then they brought him back for All Stars. He won that, and he's basically just he's got the key to the city of Hungary. I think Hungary's not a city, is it? No.
That's a country.
Yeah.
Like I said, Mike, no one's gonna fact check it. So
All
just say
right. He's
what
got
you
the
want.
key to the country. Damn it, Danny Josa. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey guys, well, thank you so much for having me over here. It's been a long time in the works.
It
We're trying
has.
to get this thing together, and I'm very stoked and very excited that I get to sit in your office when you're not here because you're sitting outside. But I'm
Yeah.
stoked to be on air right now with you guys. So thank you so much for having me.
Mike, I
Yeah.
just had a terrible thought. We're gonna
Yeah.
run out of guests when you run out of friends because like all the guests lately are your friends. And I'm
Hey,
like, holy shit.
I think we're good. We still got a couple years left, I think.
All right, good.
Yeah. So, hey, Danny, we usually like to start off by finding out when did you first really get involved with the bike, and when did it start to kind of take over your life? So, what was the first your first bike memory?
First bike memory. Well, when I got my first bike, true story coming up right here.
Yeah.
I skated for like 2 years. And in Hungary, we didn't really have any skate parks or anything like that. So I would just go skate on the streets. Now, this one time, I went to a square where they had flatlanders over there. And I'm like, oh, look, I've never seen this before. They're riding bikes on flat ground with pegs, doing all kinds of stunts. It was kind of like a bicycle ballet.
Yeah.
And then they told me about a skate park that existed in outskirts of Budapest, and that I ended up going there with my parents once. And I'm like, wow, there are BMXers at this park, which I never knew was a thing.
Hmm.
And they go way faster, they go way higher than skaters, and they actually stay on the bike on a good day, not like skaters. No
Yeah.
offense,
Right.
um, but I'm like, that is so cool. I'd much rather do that.
Hmm.
then then I showed my parents like, hey, do you think one day I can get a bike like that? They're like, absolutely not. It is already way too dangerous what you're doing. And probably a bike like that is super expensive. And I'm like, okay, I'll
Yeah.
get myself a bike.
How old were you at this time?
13,
Oh, okay. So pretty
13,
late,
14.
really.
So yeah, kind of late
Yeah.
to the party. And yeah, so my parents didn't buy me a bike. So what I did, I actually I actually asked my parents like, "Hey, can I start like doing some extra work and chores around the house and stuff, and get some money for that, a little extra work?" And then I even started delivering newspaper around my neighborhood at that young age to make some money. And every single penny that my parents gave me to buy lunch for myself in school, I saved it, kept it, and after a little bit over 1 year period of time, I bought myself my first BMX bike.
Yeah.
From that
Nice.
point
Okay.
on, it's on.
And what brand was it? Do you remember?
It was a pretty off brand. It was like a Hungarian brand type of thing. It just said BMX Cross on it.
Okay.
As an interesting fact, I never in my life owned a not BMX bike. I've never owned a mountain bike or a road bike or anything like that. I've only only owned a BMX bike. And
And how old are you
with
now?
at that point, well, yo, now 38.
38. Yeah. Man,
38.
that's a prolific run on
Hey,
BMX.
Yeah, the irony of it is the only type of bike I don't think I have in my garage is a BMX bike. So
okay.
there's
That's the
Yeah.
beauty of bike riding, that you can ride any kind of bikes, any different wheel sizes, different frame sizes, and at the end of the day, we're all in it for the same reason, to
Yeah.
have
yeah.
fun and exercise and do cool stuff on it.
Yep. Yeah, no
So
doubt.
13, so you save your pennies, you're 14, and you've been doing this since you were, now you're 38?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dang. Okay.
You know, it was kind of similar for me, I would say, because my first BMX race was at 13. And I wanted a BMX bike super bad. And my parents bought me a Montgomery Ward, which is like department store. Like it looked
Yeah.
like a BMX bike, but it was like really, and you know, it was for Christmas and I didn't want to disappoint him, but so I acted like I was stoked, you know, but I was really like, oh no, you know,
Knowing that you're
was
gonna
my
go to the bike
reaction.
park,
Yeah.
knowing that you're gonna go to the bike park and get beat up
Oh
because
yeah.
you're not really riding a BMX bike.
Well, and then, but I like you, I just started washing cars, mowing lawns, doing all kinds of shit in my neighborhood just to raise money. And then I went down to the local bike shop and I bought a mongoose. And
Okay.
that was the beginning. And then I don't know, it's like a few months later, I'm racing.
Well,
So
that's awesome. Well,
yeah.
we wish we even had those kind of options. We didn't have brand options like that. It was a BMX bike or a mountain bike. It doesn't matter what brand. It's just yeah.
Right.
And
So
it was
what,
used too.
Oh, it was used.
Yeah, it was used.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Hey
so
man, you got to start
what,
somewhere. Humble beginnings.
yeah. What was the kind of the ramps? So you get this bike and what was it? So you went and you start doing the Flatlander stuff, or did you start racing like Mike did, or was it just, or you've done a little bit of everything and settled in into what you're doing now?
Okay, so I got this BMX bike and I went up to that square where the Flatlanders were and I started hanging out with them. Now, obviously, they were way older than me, like
Mhm.
10, 15, 20 years older than me.
Oh, wow.
And they started like teaching me stuff. Like, hey, maybe you should get, like pegs on the bike because I didn't have that. So I bought these kind of fat pegs that like you screw onto the end of the axle that's sticking out
Mhm.
because it was like 10 millimeter axles, like not the 14. That was the thing back then. And so I found these pegs, put them on, and then I only had brakes on the bike that, when you like go pedal reverse, then it stops the bike. I don't know what it's called, like
Coaster
Great.
brake.
coaster brake. So
Yeah.
we call it contra, and
Well,
that's the only brake I had on the bike. And they said like, oh, it's not so ideal. Maybe you should get like a free coaster. I'm like, dude, I don't even know what that is. But okay, all I know that I got a bike and I'm stoked with this. And I got
yeah.
the peg, so I started doing that. And then eventually, a few months later, I got a new back wheel with a free wheel in the back, so I didn't have that, brake thing anymore. And my dad actually got little brake mounts welded onto the frame, and I put on Shimano DX.
Oh,
If you remember those, like red,
yeah.
super cool, like V
Yeah.
brakes.
Linear pull V brakes.
Yeah, so that was my flatland slash. I don't even know what kind of bike that was, but I was stoked on it. So I did a little bit of flatland here and there. I didn't have a gyro on there, and then I got to meet a few new BMXers that were actually street riders, but I wasn't really into street, like into grinding or anything like that. I was more into like the nature guy, and I met some guys that were doing dirt jumps, and it was that was a big thing in Hungary that might surprise you guys. There were some BMXers. I grew up with mountain bikers. I never really had BMX friends in the beginning, and all the mountain biker friends, they would build 20-inch BMX bikes, full suspension bikes for downhill. So I
Oh.
started doing downhill on my BMX bike,
Uh-huh.
and then I always kept borrowing my friends' bikes, the 20-inch ones with full suspension. And I wanted a bike like that actually, but I never got to have one. And
Yeah.
and they had jumps and all that stuff, so I started jumping them on my regular 20-inch BMX, and I got into dirt jumping, and we got a very good cool crew together, and we started building our own jumps, and we had our own spot for like 15 years after that, pretty much. So I grew up on dirt jumps after that.
Oh, okay.
But no
There
more
we go.
pegs, no front brakes, no more flatland, no street, no park, just straight dirt jumping.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
Core Anastasio was the idol.
Oh man. Oh, I got some Corey stories. He's amazing. And even still, he still gets after it pretty good.
Oh,
Have you?
100%. And I get to
Yeah.
call him my friend now.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. Yeah. We
So
saw him they had X Games in San Francisco, and I went to that back in the day.
I was there.
And yeah.
I
Oh, you
was
were?
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah. And
Wait, you said X Games or Dew Tour?
X Games.
Sorry, I was not there for X Games. I was there for Dew Tour,
Oh, okay.
Dew Tour stuff
Yeah.
in San Francisco.
So how do you, so you're building all these jumps in Hungary. You got this whole scene happening. How does it how do you transition from that to, now was it contest? Did you start just doing contests and get notoriety that way? Or was it more like you're just doing shows? I mean, how did that all come about?
I mean, I didn't have any kind of plans of competing or anything like that. Like, plus back then there was no social media, there was no YouTube, none of that. Like,
Right.
especially all the way out in Eastern Europe, we could barely get bike parts. So every time, like, we would have one of my friends' parents to go to the US, we're like, dude, can you please bring a Ride BMX magazine or a BMX Plus or something like this so we can like see what's going on over there. And we would see like, photos and ads of like Robbie Miranda, and like
Uh-huh.
guys like that doing a massive 360X up in like the DK circuit, dirt circuit and all that stuff. I'm like, dude, that's the stuff I want to do. Big jumps, super cool. One time maybe in the US, I get to do this. And so yeah, that was the only thing that we had. And then we started to have little jams. So we had a few different crews that had their own dirt spots around Budapest where I grew up. So
Mhm.
we kept like doing jams. Like every weekend we would have a jam. And then eventually we started having like contests with little prize money or like, let's say, free handlebars if you win or all that stuff. And then I got more exposed into like the whole BMX scene in Hungary that had park guys and all that stuff. And we had an indoor skate park by this point where I started going during the winters because it was cold and snowing and all that stuff that we couldn't ride dirt jumps. So I started going there. One winter they had it was called Who is the King contest. It was an amateur contest.
Uh-huh.
And I entered that. I'm like, oh, why not? Never entered the contest before. And I got third place at this amateur event. And that got me into like the pro event because the top three got to compete with the pros. And that was really cool. And then I think a year after that, I came to the States as an exchange student.
Oh, okay. So the exchange
So you
student
just
got you
got
to the States.
Yeah,
So
so I was gonna say, where's school in this whole thing? And what are your parents like saying, hey, you're spending way too much time on the bike and you got to go to school and get better grades? But obviously you were going to school and became an exchange student.
yeah,
I just
so during this whole time since I started late, so by the time I had the bike, I was 14. So 15, 16, I was home. I was doing I finished what's it called? Middle school, which is elementary school for us, and then I started going to high school. And then when I turned 17, I kept telling my parents like that I would love to go to the States as an exchange student or something like this. And my dad kept saying like, "Hey, when you turn 18, maybe we'll send you for a year." And I turned 17. I'm like, "Dad, I'm so close to being 18. Can I go now?"
Yeah.
And so at 17, he ended up sending me to the US and I moved to Orlando, Florida with a family that I didn't know. It was an exchange student family. And I've lived with them for a year from 17 when I turned 18 for a whole year. And I was junior. Wait, yes, I was a junior in high school. And then once I finished that year, then I'm like, wait, I don't want to go back to Hungary. All the skate parks are so much better here. I can ride better. It's good weather all year around. And then we had a Hungarian relative who was living in Louisiana at that time, and I ended up moving in with him until I finished high school in Louisiana. Then it only made sense because I made friends there, and I started going to University of Louisiana, and I lived there for 4 more years until end of university. And then I was still riding BMX. Louisiana was very close to Florida as well as Texas. So I was every weekend, I would have been either in Florida or I was in Texas, in Austin, riding with, Chase Hawk and Denny Hickerson and all the boys back then.
Yeah.
And then once school was over in 2010, I moved to California. The California dream, Huntington Beach, where all the BMX pros wanted to be at that time.
dear mom, send underwear and a toothbrush. And by the way, I'm not coming home.
Correct, pretty much how it was.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So so all this is happening through Louisiana State. So do you go home at all during any of this, or you
Yeah,
just
so during the school year, I was obviously in school, and then summers I would go home.
okay?
The summer breaks, I would go back to Europe, and like at that point, I was already competing, trying to compete as much as I can, travel as much as I can within Europe, and go to as many contests as I can. So my first World Championships I went to was in Cologne, Germany in 2004. Wow,
Okay.
20 years ago. Okay, didn't even think about that. Okay.
Yeah, time flies, man. Holy smokes.
So you graduate, you're going back and forth, and so you leave Louisiana, you go to, you make a living doing this, and I don't know back then, I mean, how do you make, obviously you're doing great. I mean, if you're winning, if you're going to world championships and you're whatnot, but I
So
mean,
at that point during college, I was already riding for Oakley, Nike 6.0, and Monster Energy.
Yeah, and
And there was also a bike company out of Czech Republic called 34R, where I was also getting a paycheck from. So I had
no,
four paying sponsors at that time. By the time I finished school, and so I ended up moving to California, and that was literally the best move I could have done because that year is the year when I first got invitation for X Games and Do Tour.
oh wow,
no shit. Wow.
yeah. And so most of the money comes from non-bicycle company sponsors. Is that right?
No, but this bicycle company 34R that only existed for a few years. That was a bike company, but
Yeah,
anything other than that, Oakley, Nike, and Monster, non BMX related
right, right. And then
companies.
who are your sponsors now?
I ride for Vans Hungary through Vans Europe. I ride for Harley Davidson Hungary as well. Valbard Bike Shop, which is my first ever sponsor at that time, still with bike bars that still exist, and it's been around since 1922. The
Wow,
only BMX shop and oldest bike shop in Hungary. And I ride for a coffee brand called Imperial Moto.
interesting.
No shit. Wow.
Yeah. It's called Imperial Moto
Yes,
and it's coffee.
it's coffee. Yes.
Ah, interesting. All right.
Well, it's a kind of motorcycle influenced coffee shop and roastery as well, based out of Miami, Florida,
Oh, okay.
where I
Yeah.
currently live.
Yeah. Do they have locations outside of Florida or is it
No,
just, oh,
no, they
okay.
just opened up their third location in Florida, in South
Got it.
Florida.
Got it.
This
All
is my
right.
newest sponsor. It's only been like 2 months.
Okay. Oh,
Well,
cool.
a shout out to Imperial Moto then. This is awesome.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
Super
Yeah.
cool
Yeah.
guys. Love the coffee.
Yeah. So,
So
so now if I understand it right, you're not really competing that much anymore. It's more demonstrations. Is that fair to say, or are you still mixing it up on the competition
Uh,
circuit?
every once in a while, I do compete. Now, with the whole UCI being involved with the qualification series into the Olympics and BMX freestyle being in the Olympics, it kind of changed BMX to a different way for many people. It kind of separated BMX into two parts, which is a completely different topic here.
Yeah.
But so in that kind of a series, I don't compete anymore. I used to compete in all the World Cups and all that stuff, representing Hungary and all that, but I
Yeah.
don't do that anymore. I do help out the Hungarian Cycling Federation, and I help out coaching the guys here and there when I do have time. But some other more of like core BMX events that are not UCI related, not Olympic related, and all that stuff, I much rather ride those kind of events.
Okay.
Um, if it's at a time when I can go, or like a contest that I really really like, I still do contests here and there. Obviously, my ultimate goal is not to win or place high at these events. I just want to take part and be there and ride and see all the friends and homies from around the world.
right.
Yeah.
So but now you piqued my since we have until 10 o'clock, what is that separation that that you don't want to do UCI, because you can't, well, let's not assume that I know or our audience is going to know what's that separation that makes UCI events not so interesting, and or is divided it into two camps.
Um, so 4 years ago in Tokyo, Japan was the first time where BMX freestyle made its debut for the first time in the Olympics, which is obviously huge for our sport.
Yeah.
But it kind of divided BMX in two separate ways. Like there are guys that very, very competitive and very, very focused, train hard, not only progression of tricks, training in gyms, working with country cycling federations, with trainers, coaches, masseuses, and all kinds of different stuff. Like it's full athleticism, which is awesome. The progression of our competitive sport is awesome. And there are the other guys that kind of do BMX as a lifestyle, still like to compete, some of them in street events or park events or different kind of jams, or just simply ride for the fun of it and still get sponsors and still make a living out of it. But I could say like two very opposite events. Let's say a UCI Olympic qualifier, which just took place in Shanghai, China this last weekend. That's one type of contest. And then there is another contest, for example, the Florida Swamp Fest, that's organized by Trey Jones. Two completely separate kind of BMX events, which are both very cool in their own ways for different kind of audience, obviously.
Yeah.
I'm into all kinds
Swamp
of bikes.
Fest. I'm all about the Swamp Fest.
Yeah.
I'm all about both. Like I don't mind. It's BMX at the end of the day. To me, I have friends that compete in this. I have friends that compete in this. There are guys that compete in both.
Right.
I just breathe and bleed BMX, so I don't really care. As long as you're on bikes, we're gonna have fun.
Yeah. That's the best approach for sure. The footage from Swamp Fest, there was just recently, it just went down, right?
Wow.
And it was wild. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I think many of our audience probably has a pretty good idea what just the name of it is. It's appropriate, obviously, because there is a swamp, and the things that are being done out there are it's just wild. Yeah.
Everything is built out of like scrap wood and different kind of pallets and all that stuff. It's super cool. It's an extremely fun event. I got to go to one of them like a year ago, 2 years ago. That was super fun. I wasn't able to make it out to the last one, but man, that is a true BMX, real BMX event. It's so epic. It's so entertaining.
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool.
To be there, whether to watch or spectate or to ride.
Yeah. Yeah, I bet, because it's just riding, just some of the features and stuff, just riding those features. Like that. There's a clip, I'm sure you saw, the guy doing that rail ride across the swamp.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was just insane.
Wild.
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
So that'd be a new type of challenge, because you got all this wet, sloppy situation and you're trying to still do something really epic. And it just adds probably a factor of 10 to the level of difficulty on some of that stuff.
I mean, Trey Jones is the man behind it, and he's the one that comes up with this crazy imagination of doing swamp rails, loops, builds like a full-on size pirate ship, and like dirt jumps on the side, and just, I can't even explain. It's so wild and it's so cool.
Yeah, it's fun. It's interesting, the pirate ship, because remember we had, did you ever go to that guy's house in Martinez?
No, I have not been there. No.
Oh, okay, because he had a pirate ship in his backyard
Okay.
too. And it was a BMX, it was cool. He had a resi ramp, he had a foam pit. He had some dirt jumps, some like legit dirt jumps. And
I think he still does. He still have the dirt jumps.
Yeah. And he had a train back there. But a pirate ship and a train. I mean, it was just kind of crazy, but it's funny, the pirate ship and Swamp Fest. But all right, okay, so let's talk about this reality TV show, because I am kind of it's embarrassing to admit, but I am kind of a reality TV person. I do really like Survivor.
Okay.
And that's kind of that's my favorite. That's my jam, Survivor.
Okay.
But we'd watch other ones, the whole family, we all watch The Bachelor, all those things.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm kind of an aficionado on that stuff. So unfamiliar with Exatlon.
Just going to interrupt here. I did not know that about you, Mike, and I would have never guessed it. And that's Sue watches all of them too, so it's interesting. It's background fodder for me, but yeah, interesting.
I definitely keep it on the down low. I don't go broadcasting it, although I just
Not
did.
anymore.
Well, clearly you just
did.
did. You just did. I was gonna
The
say.
cat is out of the bag.
Everybody's gonna know now, but whatever. It's all good. But I mean, if this show sounds amazing, and it's like a combination of like Big Brother and Survivor, right? Something like that. You guys kind of live together, and then you do these events.
Okay, so I would say it's a Big Brother, Survivor, and a Ninja Warrior mix.
Oh, okay.
So it's
Yep.
called the proper name is Exatlon. So
Exatlon.
Exatlon, yeah. So it's like
Okay.
triathlon. It's an extreme sport athlon kind of. So it's an extreme sport reality TV show where there are two teams, a red team and a blue team. Now, blue team is ordinary people with good physical abilities, amateur athletes with no like crazy big achievements in a specific sport that can apply and try to be on the show and go through this like 4-stage casting series and all that stuff and try to get on this TV show. Now, red team is professional athletes, Olympians, world champions, European champions, Hungarian champions of a certain sport. And that's the team I was on as a multiple-time Hungarian champion for BMX. And I was called by the TV channel. And they invited me to go in for a talk. And I went through the casting series and everything. And I got chosen to be one of the players. And this was one of the coolest experiences of my life.
Yeah. I can't imagine like I mean, fame's like something that's really kind of tricky and to manage. And BMX is BMX or skateboarding or some of these fringe sports. Even if you're at a very high level in those sports, you basically just get around. No one really knows you unless they're some hardcore BMX kid or skater kid might recognize you because they eat, they live it, they breathe it. But you can do your normal life without, anybody really stopping you and being a problem. But if you're going to be on TV, and I remember you saying that it's on every single night in Hungary.
So it's 5 days a week, every weekday for 3 hours at prime time.
So there's
on
nothing
the biggest
like,
TV on the biggest TV channel in Hungary.
wow. Okay. So I mean, I'm sure, I mean, what did it do to your personal life and your
Wait,
like
but
just,
with that, how long is the season?
Okay, so they had 4 seasons altogether. Okay, now I got invited to the 3rd season, and the 3rd season lasted 5 months, and this was filmed in Dominican Republic.
holy
5 days a
smokes.
week, 5 days a week, 3 hours a week for 5 months. You're
5
on
months.
camera.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Now,
Right.
but don't look at it in a USA scale. USA is obviously, I don't know, 350 million people.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And whereas Hungary is 9.5 million people.
Okay.
So it's a little different. Now, yes, you're on TV. Obviously, you're going to get recognized after you come home. It's all cool, but don't think about it as like, oh my God, I'm a huge celebrity, anything like that. Yes, if I do walk around Hungary, people do recognize me. Now it's kind of dying down because it's been 2 years and all that stuff. And this kind of a TV show kind of attracts two kinds of people. Like either it's the younger generation, let's say I would say 20, 23 and under, and 45, 50 and over.
Okay.
So the age that I'm in, those people don't watch TV and definitely don't watch TV shows like this.
Yeah.
So here, sitting in front of a TV 3 hours every single day for 5 months, trying to cheer for your favorite, character and watch them live together either in a full luxurious villa for a certain week or like a very Puritan wooden house in the jungle with no hot water and AC in the crazy heat and humidity. I wouldn't be the kind of guy who would watch stuff like this.
Yeah.
But for the most part, the show is about the competition, which we do daily. Okay. And so pretty much the whole thing is there's 10 players on each team, 5 girls, 5 guys. Run against one-on-one battle, 1 red, 1 blue. and whoever wins a point on like kind of like a Ninja Warrior type of course with a finisher at the end, which means once you finish this obstacle course, you have to throw like an ending, which is like you throw a stick, a sandbag, a ball, a ring, or something like this, and whoever finishes that wins 1 point for the team. And
Okay.
whichever team gets to 10 points first wins the day.
Got it.
Now, and every single day, we're fighting and playing for something, some kind of a
Right.
reward.
And
but
because it's an obstacle course, you as a professional athlete doesn't necessarily have an advantage
no,
over the average Joe. Because is it not like saying, okay, now you got to compete on a bike or
but
something
don't
like
think
that?
about it. It's like an average Joe. It's not like a person who just lives like an everyday life. Think about an athlete who's not a professional athlete, but tries all kinds of different sports and very athletic and all that stuff. Goes to
Right.
the gym. Like all these guys, are like amateur, let's say amateur, almost semi-pro handball player or a volleyball player or long distance runner or something like this, like very athletic people.
Yeah.
And
Roger that.
so like I don't have an advantage as a red team member, as a professional athlete, because I'm not professional at throwing a ring or a ball or a sandbag or running on an obstacle course. I'm doing BMX. And
Yeah.
some of these Olympians that were on my team, they're like Olympic gold medalist kayaker, karate athlete, kickbox athlete, cliff diver, soccer player. Like they don't do this kind of stuff on a regular.
Right,
They
right,
focused on
okay.
one sport,
Right. So is there a social dynamic to it too, because you're all living together?
Definitely, yes.
Are there
So
points that are awarded for social?
no, none of
Okay,
that. So
it's only on
not,
athletic.
yeah. So it's not like Survivor that you vote someone out, that you don't like someone. It's
Yeah.
it's strictly about performance.
Got it.
So
Yep.
yes, you live together. You have to get along, otherwise you're gonna be like kind of like the black sheep on the team, and it's not like
Yeah.
they're gonna vote you out or anything, but it's not gonna be fun. Like
Yeah.
it's a team effort at the end of the day, and every single week, one player gets eliminated and goes home.
Got it.
So it could be a red team member or a blue team member, depending on how the games go daily.
Yeah.
So it's a very complex game.
Are you all living in one house, like the red team and the blue team, or are you separated
No,
by
two separate
teams?
houses. Like I don't see the blue team until we play the game, and we're not
Got it.
allowed to talk to each other or interact
Oh,
or
no
anything like
kidding.
this.
Yeah.
And once we land in Dominican Republic, they take our cell phones, so we only live in a bubble inside this TV show. We don't know anything about the outside world. No news, no nothing. I don't know what time it is. I don't have a watch. Nothing.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's wild. Is it hard being disconnected like that for so
No, I
long?
absolutely love it. I wish I could do that today.
I was just telling somebody else that. It's like, I think I'm pretty much done with social media.
I will gladly turn my phone in right now
Uh-huh.
and take this phone for 5 months, 6 months, 1 year, and let me play this game. And I don't want to know anything about the outside world. I just want to focus on this and compete and be active and compete, because I love competition. I love being with my friends, and it was amazing. Like it was like a dream world that I was living in.
Yeah. Well, so so I guess it doesn't even need to be asked. If they're gonna have another one and they ask you back, you're in, right?
Oh, I would ask, when are we leaving? Let's go.
Yeah. Is it likely that that's gonna happen again?
Well, since they had 4 seasons, doing 3 regular and then the All-Star season where they invited back the best players from all 3 seasons,
Mm-hmm.
that one is over too, and it's been 2 years. So I don't think it's going to happen. I would say within this year or the next year. So they're going to pause it for a little bit. So there's going to be more demand for it again later on.
Okay.
They could do so many different concepts, just based on, for example, Mexico bought this. This is a Turkish production. So they bought this program or whatever from Turkey, and Mexicans have done 11 seasons already. We've only done 4. So Mexicans are way ahead of us, and they're extremely good at this game.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was
And
wondering why only 4? I mean, if it's like that, Survivor here is on what, season 20, like 31 or something? Like it's crazy how many seasons of Survivor there's been.
Yeah.
I mean, we
Right.
have Survivor in Hungary as well, but it's played on a different TV channel, and they had way more than 4. They have it every year,
Yeah.
but it's a
Yeah,
different TV
so
channel.
Yeah.
Normally on a regular season, you have new players every single time. Whereas when it comes to All Star, they obviously brought back players from the previous seasons. And
Yep.
since it's over, like they either gonna have like a brand new season with new players, or they're gonna do the concept that the Mexicans did, where they brought new players mixed with old players, or they brought in old players as coaches, or they brought in like a third team. It was the yellow team. It was called Legends. So it's like there's
Oh,
so many different concepts they can do based on what Mexicans do,
right. Right.
which is super cool. So like, yes, if it comes down to it, oh yeah, I'm so down to go back.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and who knows, maybe that could be the career after BMX, you know?
I mean, I don't know if you can do a full career out of this TV show, but it is definitely something that you can kind of run or build like a parallel life.
Hmm.
Because I do have like a little different kind of lifestyle and life that I live here in the States when I go back to Hungary. Because in
Yeah.
Hungary, it's not necessarily just BMX. Here in the US, I only do BMX stuff. When I'm home, I do a bunch of other stuff as
Right.
well.
Well, yeah, that's an interesting thing. If it's sucking up that much of your time, did your BMX skills? I mean, you've been doing it for a while, so maybe it's just like second nature. But do your skills suffer if
I
you're off the bike?
It did not get affected whatsoever.
Yeah, you've been doing it a while. Yeah, you got
I
that
mean, it's
stuff.
I mean, yes, I did not ride like 5 months and then 3 months the following year. Um, Sometimes when you take off from a non-injury, just take off like a week and stuff, dude, you're so powerful and so motivated and ready to do it again. Like you're almost better doing like missing out a week and getting back. Obviously not 5 months, but
Yeah.
when I got back on the bike after 5 months, I literally felt like I just rode yesterday.
Yeah.
Like no problem.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You feel fresh like lettuce. So my friend always says.
Well, it's because yes, you were not injured, so you don't have that kind of a fear in you, like, oh, what happens if I crash again? I'm not in shape and all that stuff. Like when I left this TV show, I was in the best shape of my life
Yeah.
doing all this stuff. So I was in an even better shape than when I went into the show. So when I came out, I'm like, oh, I'm ready to ride a bike. Let's go.
Yeah. Right on. So that was the All-Star one in the Dominican Republic also?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
They
And
changed
then
up the courses and all that stuff.
right. And your sponsors are how do the sponsors feel when you take these little breaks? Is it like, hey, cool, he's on TV, this is good. Everybody that knows our brand is attached to this guy, so it's all good? Or are they
Um,
kind of like pressuring you like, hey man, we got a deal, you know?
Well, if I was to do this TV show, let's say 10 years ago when I was on my peak riding level competition and all that stuff, where
Yeah.
all my contracts were for competitions and trying to be in top 3 at every contest I go to, then it would be a different story.
Got
Now
it.
I do it more of like a lifestyle rider. So like it's none of my supporters or sponsorships right now really, I would say, not like they don't care about like me like winning a contest. I'm not saying it's never going to happen, but it's less likely going to happen now. They're more into me doing lifestyle stuff and just representing a brand in a very different way.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So like you're here in California right now, and you guys have a very busy schedule. What is
Oh
it
yeah.
exactly that you guys are doing?
Oh, thanks for asking. I love
Yeah.
talking about this,
Yeah.
just as well as like the other topics. But
Yeah.
so we do BMX shows. BMX shows meaning we're not only doing entertainment, we're doing educational shows mostly. So we travel around now the West Coast, but a lot of times I do it on the East Coast because I have my own show team back there. Um, we do like an anti-bullying, anti-alcohol, anti-drug, anti-cigarette speech along with bike riding. So we're not really telling the kids. Normally, we go to schools, elementary schools, middle schools, high schools. Sometimes we do colleges. Sometimes we do special events. Sometimes we do NBA halftime shows, which is obviously more of an entertainment. But
Yeah.
for the most part, we do motivational speeches. I'm not telling the kids anything different what their parents or their teachers would tell them, staying away from bad things and living a healthy lifestyle. Consider yourself and your body as the foundation of your success. Work towards goals and dreams, respecting others along the way. Um, kids just might think we're cooler because we do backflips in their school, and we may be closer to them in age, you know?
Uh-huh. Yeah,
Um,
I was joking with Dave before he came on. I said, yeah, he does these shows where he talks about safety and then they go out and do backflips.
no, yeah, yeah, I don't tell them that BMX is the best thing ever. No, I
Yeah,
say BMX is what I found my passion in. BMX is what showed me what really life is.
yeah,
Um, and it taught me many different things in life. But if you don't want to be a BMXer, that's okay. You can be a lawyer, you can be a doctor, you can be an uh, electrician, you can be an athlete, a musician, an artist, whoever you want to be. But you have to work towards it because nothing comes for free.
yeah,
You have to work for everything you want to reach and get in life because nothing's going to be handed to you for free.
yeah.
And you have to
I'm gonna ask.
respect. Yep.
Well, go ahead, Danny. I'm sorry, I cut
And,
you off, but
no, and you have to respect everyone along the way. Like you have to respect not only your parents, your teachers, your classmate, anyone that comes your way. Like it's we're all in this together. There's so much negativity going on in this world right now that I'm trying to tell the kids that you guys are the next generation that can bring positivity into this world. So like, this is where you can create the foundation of your success by making lifelong friendships in school. You never know who's gonna walk into you later on in life, applying for a job. Maybe the person who you bullied in school is the company owner where you're trying to apply to get a job at. So it's like it's and so it is very important, I think. I'm obviously not going to change every kid's life in the school, but if I get to change one kid's life out of 2,000 kids I see daily, it was already worth it.
Yeah.
okay. So those are all incredibly powerful messages. And by the way, I substitute teach at a middle school, and I'm going to have you up there because there's a lot of those things that are severely
Oh, thank
lacking
you.
in my school. Who the name will in our school system. However, how did that leap come? How did you tie in BMX to these incredibly powerful and important messages? Because, and I want to say something, I hope it's not offensive, but I would imagine if we were to interview or just go out and take a random survey on the street, a lot of people wouldn't necessarily associate the skater life, the BMX life, and all that, like the swamp fest people there with the clean lifestyle type thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the perception of mountain bikers is not really whatever.
Yeah.
So,
I
so
I
how did
absolutely
you make
understand what you're saying.
it? Doesn't
BMX and
happen often, so thank
skateboarding
you.
and these sports obviously come. These are like kind of street sports. It's almost like in people's head. Sometimes it's still like a ghetto sport where like, oh, a skater or a BMXer will go to a skate park, like spray everything all over graffiti, smoke a
Yeah,
cigarette, drink a
exactly,
beer, leave
exactly.
all the trash all over the place, like curse at old people walking on the street. It's like no, it's not like this anymore. There are professional athletes around the world. There are BMXers. Like that's why I don't even want to call myself a BMXer. I call myself an athlete who rides BMX. Um, and unfortunately, that's still kind of the stereotype norm in some people's head. So this is also what we're trying to change here. That we're
Yeah.
not just street kids,
Hmm.
Like we have life goals. We've gone to school. We've gone to college. It's okay. You can still pursue a dream and a goal through BMX, through extreme sports. Like there, I mean, obviously it's not like a sport like tennis or golf where like it's like a higher end type of sport. It's more expensive and all that stuff.
Yeah.
This is also a sport like any kind of kid can start. Like a skateboard obviously is cheaper than a BMX bike, but like it doesn't mean you're going to be a street kid just because you skate or BMX.
Right. Well,
But
I think that you make some great points, and there's no doubt that BMX, I mean, even before the Olympics, but the fact now that it is in the Olympics, I mean, the credibility and the pursuit of gold will legitimizes a lot of people's vision as to, like you said, it kind of split up, right? You got the people that are just tunnel vision on, I'm an athlete, I'm going to take it to that level, I'm everything, it's nutrition, it's the whole shebang, to try to get to cross that line faster than anybody else in the world. And then, but also though, there is really a subculture of, kind of crazy shenanigans that happen with the BMX scene, skateboarding too, and I grew up in it and I saw it firsthand. I did myself, I wasn't involved with that element of it, but it was always there, at the skate park. There were always like a few dudes over there smoking weed or whatever. And it was just like, I think those types of sports, because accessibility, right? To your point, it's relatively inexpensive to get into. And so if you're, you got a tough home situation and you just want to get out of the house, you want to get away from everything, you can get on your skateboard, you can get on a BMX bike, and you can go somewhere and you can find a community of other people that are similar.
Yeah.
Some will be similar. And so I think that's always going to be kind of hanging over the BMX and skateboarding's head as like, oh yeah, these kids are, hoodlums or whatever. But
No, and it's awesome that you're changing it. I just would like, it's not like I finished watching Lords of Dogtown and thought that they'd ever be going out and preaching such a positive message, right? So
yeah,
it's amazing that you've actually turned that into something so positive because, well, you know it better than look, I know it as well as you now in the school system. I started to say it before, man. It's I'm going to say it. I hope we don't lose users. It's a fucked up generation, and they need somebody to be telling them those positive messages, right? I mean, at the sixth, seventh, and eighth grade level, we've got drug issues, we've got anxiety issues, we've got bullying, where it was in the school the other day, and it's just bad. So, props, man.
We can't lose anything with this. Only good things can come out of this.
yes. Yeah.
So it is cool. Like if I'm not gonna change a kid's life, at least I got to entertain the kid for an hour in the school, and it's guaranteed that he's gonna remember this because he was out of class. He was on the blacktop of the school and he was watching something cool. So maybe not now, not immediately he's gonna change, but maybe in a few months, a year, 2 years, he's gonna be like, oh, remember those guys were in my school and they talked about this? Maybe they were right.
Right.
Something like
Yeah.
that.
Or even if it's just like a sliver of inspiration to be creative, right? It may not have anything to do with the bike, but he sees something that is creative that's happening on a bicycle, and then, it's going to resonate with them in a different way. And apply that to, maybe focusing in on what they are passionate about, and add some creativity to it. But I love
it. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, I love the message about, health, taking care of your body. Your body's a temple, and then also, respecting everybody along the way. That's so important. But were you always health conscious, or was it something that you learned over time where, did you go through a period where you partied or you ate bad food or something? I know you're very committed to this healthy lifestyle today, but you're 38. Did you go through a patch and then you kind of had to do a course correction, or have you always been so committed to this healthy lifestyle?
I'm very stoked you asked this because I've been straight edge all my life. Never drank, never smoked, never done anything like that. Yes, I've eaten fast food, and sometimes we can't get to a normal food or healthier food because we're on the road. Sometimes we have to eat a fast food, but I don't normally eat that. I eat pretty healthy. I exercise every day, not only ride a bike. I fully consider myself an athlete, and maybe I would not have considered myself an athlete 15 years ago yet because I was still younger, and wasn't mature enough. But I always lived a healthy lifestyle, and that's what I got from my parents. My parents don't drink either. They never smoked either. So it's like that's That's the kind of path I saw. And yes, I wanted to go out party, obviously, like I was curious as like a teenager, but
Mhm.
my dad always told me like, all right, son, yes, you can go out. I'll pick you up at 11 p.m. in front of that club, wherever you go. And I'm like, wait, dad, everything starts at like 1 a.m. What do you mean? He's like, well, too bad. Too bad you
Right.
ain't going. So I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'm not going. And I wasn't the kid who was gonna like, climb through my window in the middle of the night and try to go party, because I'm like, dude, that's pretty lame. I'm gonna go out there, and I've been out there. I went to the
You guys
clubs.
keep
I saw
talking for a
people.
second, okay? I'll be right back.
Yep.
No worries.
Yep.
And I saw kids smoking cigarettes. I saw kids smoking weed, like getting exposed to all this. I saw kids getting drunk and all that stuff. I'm like, dude, that is so lame. Like, I do not want to do this. There's nothing wrong with drinking a beer or two or three. There's nothing wrong with drinking wine or drinking any of this. You just need to realize how much you drink. And it's
Yeah.
okay. Sometimes you want to get a little buzz. That's also okay. But doing
Yeah.
that every single day and all that stuff, that's not necessarily healthy. I'm not saying that it's super bad for you, whatever. Everyone do whatever you want to do, but I'm just not going to do that, and I'm not going to preach that this is good for you and okay. This is, I think, is a very luxurious thing to do,
Yeah.
drinking, just because people mostly drink it for the taste. Some people drink it for the result, which is the worse. Drinking it for the
Mhm.
taste, nothing wrong with that.
Well, there's a lot of things that taste good though, and it's like,
It's all good.
so the thought is, I feel like, you hear this term social lubrication, people, a lot of times they feel like a lot more comfortable interacting with the opposite sex or whatever, because they got it, the skids greased a little bit with some alcohol, it just kind of lets your inhibitions out a little bit. But I think the your designation of like identifying yourself as an athlete, if you identify as an athlete, you realize like athletes are not drinking beer every day.
No,
That's
but
not
they do
something
drink every once in a while if they
that's not
want, if they're into it,
yes, right.
which is okay.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah.
I myself, I
Yeah.
love coffee, and I can drink multiple coffees a day. Um, it's not necessarily the best for you to drink that much caffeine,
Sure.
but sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I don't drink coffee for like a few days, but sometimes I drink 4 a day. But
Right.
that's just my, I guess, bad habit, you know?
That caffeine is evil. Stay away from it. Caffeine is evil.
This guy, okay. We'll
S-
do podcast recording sometimes at 7:30 in the morning, Danny, and he comes on, he's on his third diet Coke or Pepsi at
Okay.
7:30 in the morning.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, he's got a problem.
Hey, that's his
But you know
thing.
what? You got coffee, he's
Enough
got
about
Diet
me.
Coke. Yeah, really,
You
how big
you
of
know,
problems are these?
I
uh,
know I'm backtracking slightly, Mike, but I was sitting out there teaching the other day, and while teaching, I had lunch duty, and it's a Danny, it's an exciting life. You're doing backflips, and I'm on a playground watching lunch duty, but I seriously, God is my witness. I thought, you know, we should have Jeff Linoski come to like school like this and do his gig, right?
yeah,
And because people still talk about that when he came to my shop. But
yep,
now I'm listening to Danny, and with all due respect to Jeff, because I love him, he's a great friend of the pod, and he's amazing to watch.
yep.
To combine kind of what he's doing with a message, like what school wouldn't do this, right? And now I don't know. I got to pitch it to my principal.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you. I would love to go to the school where you work. It would be super cool, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How
Um,
many of these shows a year do you do?
120, 150 a year.
Wow.
Yeah, man. Hardest working man in BMX.
I
Yeah.
don't know about that. I'm nowhere near that.
Really?
I'm nowhere near that.
Yeah, 150 shows a year though. That's wild.
So you're on the road. You're on the road all the time then.
I'm on the road 320 days out of the year.
Wow. Yeah.
Fall and spring, I'm in the US, East Coast, West Coast doing shows. Summertime, I'm in Europe for the European contest season. Wintertime, I'm in South Africa, New Zealand, Australia, Southeast Asia, Southern Hemisphere. I'm
Man,
chasing warm weather, not trying to be
yeah.
in the cold.
So of all the countries that you visit, what's your number one?
New
But
Zealand and South Africa.
okay. Yeah. And what is it about those countries that make that occupy that number one position for you?
Well, first of all, I love nature,
Yeah.
of any kind. Um, love mountains, different kinds of waters, lakes, oceans, seas, whatever. Um, New Zealand is the absolute mecca for bike riding, of any sorts of bike riding, as well as just outdoors, just great outdoors of any kind of sports. Obviously, I'm looking at BMX, the
Yeah.
BMX side of it. Um, there's so many different dirt jumps and trails and all that stuff that I can ride there, which is pretty much my roots. There's also very cool concrete parks all over, beautiful beaches, very different and diverse scenery as far as beaches, mountains, different kind of landscapes, trees, plants, and all that stuff. And just being down there, like just down under that far, is just something about it that it's so cool that you're so far and remote away from the whole world that down there you just like feel like, wow, I made it all the way here. This is like the furthest place you can be from Hungary.
Yeah.
It's the
And
furthest
when
place
you
you can
get
be
there,
from anywhere except
Pretty
Australia.
much, right? Yeah, it's like
yeah,
a 2 day flight. Yeah, it's crazy.
and a shout out to him too. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a pretty amazing, laid back, friendly, accepting culture there
Oh
in
yeah,
New Zealand as well.
absolutely, absolutely.
I'm gonna get you some light, Danny, because we're losing you. I'll be
Oh, I
right
was
back.
gonna say I'm pretty dark over here. Um, so yeah, other than New Zealand, I would say South Africa is my other favorite, as far as bike riding as well as nature and everything. I do have a lot of friends there. The culture is, oh, thank you. Culture is very rich there. The food is awesome. People are awesome and welcoming, and man, the landscape is.
Not to get too specific, but because I've been to both New Zealand, so we talking Auckland, we talking North Island, South Island,
Uh, Both.
both.
I'm a fan of both for many different reasons. Well, I would say South Island is something that I dream about all the time being there. Christchurch
That's what
and
I have.
around Christchurch, unreal. The whole Southern Alps is absolutely beautiful to go see waterfalls, do hikes, and all that stuff. On the northwest part of the South Island, there's many different, very cool, old school concrete skate parks. But obviously, if you go down to like Lake Wanaka, Queenstown, and all that stuff, Milford Sound, oh man, that you're in
Yeah,
like National Geographic movie, like you
yeah,
feel like.
right, right. And
And the
whereabouts
bike scene there is crazy.
whereabouts in South Africa?
Um, so I've been there twice. I was just recently there in this past March, and we took a big road trip from Cape Town, and we went up the coast all the way to Durban.
Okay, yeah,
We
I've
didn't
made
go
that
as far as
made that trek.
Johannesburg,
Yeah,
so went through all along the garden route and everything. It's beautiful. Did a
yeah.
bunch of hikes. Went to see on some safaris and super cool. The water is awesome. Good surfing there. Very cold water, which I'm a very big fan of.
Okay.
Getting cold plunges in the morning. That's super cool.
Ooh,
And
okay.
just the animal world down there is just you just feel like you're in a zoo.
Yeah, yeah. You are, in fact. It's
Yeah,
one really big one, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's super cool. But I would say so. New Zealand, South Africa number 2, Japan number 3.
Oh wow.
Ooh,
Okay.
interesting.
I would love to go to Japan someday. I have a buddy of mine just bought a house over in Osaka, and
Okay.
it's like an old traditional Chinese or Japanese home,
So
and he's restoring it, and he's been chronicling it
wow.
on YouTube. It's really
Oh,
cool.
cool.
Yeah, but they do this thing where they burn the wood, uh, like to I forget the terminology exactly, but it petrifies the wood so that it cannot water cannot penetrate it.
Yeah.
So that's like a common practice over there. So he was kind of covering that, and
I know exactly what you're talking about
Yeah.
because I saw it, and now that you explained it, now I understand why the houses look like that, especially
Yeah.
in very traditional areas of Osaka and Kyoto.
yeah, it's pretty neat.
So, Mike, I got to ask this, and then I should have asked this in the beginning. Uh, What is your connection to somebody that owns a house in Japan? Like,
Oh, we met mountain biking. And
Okay.
yeah, so but he used to run like a windsurf website, and my buddy's super into one of my really good friends is he's into kiteboarding and windsurfing and stuff. And so he said, "Oh, I think you'd be friends with this guy." And he tells me about him. I'm like, "Oh," and he goes, "Oh,
Right.
he rides a mountain bike too." So anyway, we ended up connecting and rode mountain bikes together for a while, and then we just stayed in touch.
And how did you get to know Danny?
Oh
So yeah, so that came from Danny. Now I think I got this right. You met Will at
Woodward.
at Woodward.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you just came over and stayed with us for a while, right?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that's how we met.
I think
Okay.
I've known Will for more than 10 years now. I was like
Yeah.
10, 11 years now.
Yeah.
And we became friends at Woodward West. And then he told me where he lives. And next time I came through here, Livermore, I stopped by and spent a few nights here. And since then, I think I come here like multiple times a year,
Yeah.
fall and
Yeah.
spring.
It's
Glad that you
always
do.
it's always great to have you, Danny. I mean, we
Thank
love
you.
yeah, we love having you around, man. And some of the stories that
So,
you've shared and the clips and everything, it's just so cool, man.
Thank you so much.
It's something that I would hope.
uh,
I've told you this before, but it's something that I had hoped for myself at one point in my life. I was hoping to take take the show on the road, so to speak, and it just whatever, life happens and you go in different directions, and I don't regret any of it. But to meet you and to know you, somebody that is actually doing it, it's really cool. I get, like in a way, I kind of live a little bit of my,
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
through your
so
exploits and adventures.
yeah, kind of a lot of parallels with David Lieb as well, van life and just out,
Great guy.
doing what
Yeah.
you know, David.
Oh, yeah. He used to ride
Yeah.
BMX.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
Oh,
pretty
yeah.
amazing. Pretty amazing. So let
Yeah.
me ask you a question. Yeah, 38.
Yeah.
Like, well, I don't think we mentioned earlier the injuries. I don't know what, like how much that's taken its toll and how badly that's been, and you don't have to go there. But then I mean, I imagine there's been a few of them.
Oh, yeah.
And then so there's that, and then 38. Like, how long can you keep doing this? I hope
I
if you're delivering that message, I hope forever. But I just
I knew this question was coming at some point.
Yeah.
am I that predictable, Danny? God, Jesus, we've only known each other for an hour and 10 minutes.
But when I tell people like I'm 38, at first they look at me like, "Oh, really?" I'm like, "Well, thank you for that." But
Yeah.
and the next is like, well, how much longer do you think you're gonna do this?" I'm like, "Oh man, here we go."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I had my good fair share of injuries.
Okay.
Had broken bones every part of my body so far. It did not hold me back from anything, and thankfully, I'm knocking in on wood as I'm saying this right now. Did not affect me whatsoever. I'm working. My body's working better than ever. I do know how to take care of it. I cannot prevent injuries because I'm riding a BMX bike.
Right.
But how long I can do this for, or more that I'm
I
not
think
really sure. I would say I hoping that I get to ride BMX easily another 20, 30 more years. Probably not on this level, nowhere near on this level, and not in places like this. But I'm gonna try my best to do this. But there's always gonna be one major factor that can hold you back from living a lifestyle like this, and that's called a wife.
Yeah.
Now, which I do not have. So
Uh-huh.
I'm good to go.
Yeah.
Right
So is
now.
that,
Yeah.
are you basically de facto saying that you're not going to have a wife for the next 25, 30 years?
No, he's
Um,
just saying that if that right person comes along, he's got to find out what it's like to work at Home Depot.
I am. That's hopefully never going to work or
Yeah.
never going to happen. But
Yeah.
I do have a girlfriend. Uh, it's been a pretty long journey.
Yeah.
Almost, it's going to be 4 years coming up, like in 2 months. Um, the thought has come to my head before that what if,
Right.
I think this thought comes to her head a lot more often than mine. Um, maybe it's going to happen at some point, sooner or later, which would be very cool.
Yeah.
But she is super cool enough to know and respect what I like and what my passions are, and that I like the freedom part of this. Like the freedom part, I'm talking like I can leave, let's say, to Southeast Asia if I want tomorrow for as long as I want
Hmm.
because I have the freedom of being able to do this. And just the fact that if I don't have this kind of a freedom thought in my head that I'm not able to do this, I'm going to have so much anxiety. Like, wait, I can't just leave whenever I want for as long as I want.
Yeah.
What do you mean? I've always
Hmm.
had this freedom and now I don't. That would kill me on the inside.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
you might be surprised though, it's
what I'm
like,
trying to manage right now is to bring her along all these travels is what I'm trying to
Yeah.
do,
oh, there you go. That would be
which has been
Let
amazing.
working
her
pretty
let
good.
her
Which has
share in
been
the dream. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So obviously the experiences are the best when they're shared.
Yeah.
So it would be experiencing in a different way. Like for example, last time I went to South Africa this past March, she came with me, and it was awesome
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
super
Cool.
cool. And so yeah, if it's like bike related trips, obviously it's better if I go alone or with my friends. But I would much rather share all these experiences with her.
Sure. Yeah. Well, who knows?
Yeah. Why would I
Maybe
mean
that's what the future looks like, the two of you
yeah.
doing these things together. Maybe she could grab the microphone and be part of the presentation in some way. I don't know. I don't know her, so you
Yeah,
know.
I mean that I don't know about her grabbing the mic, but
Does she have a
I think
similar
you're
approach to life as far as health and fitness
oh
and
yeah,
yeah.
oh yeah, that's yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah. Yeah,
I
that's
I
That's
think
pretty much not even similar. That's exact same as far as like healthy living and being fit and going to the gym. She probably goes more to the gym than I do.
yeah. It could
but
it could
I think that workout is a testament to you probably can do this for so many years is that lifestyle that allows you to recover quickly from injuries or recover and come back full. And, I mean, Mike and I have talked about this too. I mean, I'm 63 years old and, I think that surprises a lot of people in terms
yeah.
of that. But it's, despite a few vices like, Diet Pepsi, I do lead for the most part a pretty healthy lifestyle.
And it's
And I
diet
think that
anyways.
that, yeah, I think that that helps is it will always help and it allows me to keep doing what I'm
Yeah,
doing, right?
absolutely.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
when you were talking about coming back from injury and you can't prevent it because of BMX it's a really tough sport on you physically, but you can mitigate a lot of that. And your health and your fitness is definitely giving you the ability to probably not get as injured as somebody else that didn't approach the sport the same way that you do, and then also to come back. You're disciplined and you work hard, and so those are things that a lot of times people have to learn after getting injured.
Yeah,
Yeah, whereas your whole life has been, about taking care of your body and being straight
Well,
edge.
David Lee made a comment about that too. He's reached a point in his life and his career where he's selective about what he'll do,
Hmm.
right? And he's a little bit, I don't know, I'm not using it right, but he's a little bit more selective now because of the potential consequences. And
absolutely.
so And so he's changed how he rides, but he's still exciting to watch, right? So
But
Yeah.
that comes with experience, that comes with age,
Yeah.
comes with maturity. Like it comes in many different forms and ways. And it
Yeah.
doesn't mean you can't enjoy bike riding to the fullest. Like
right.
I have more fun on my bike now when I ride in places where I want to ride than I ever have.
Yeah.
Like I don't feel pressured. I just truly enjoy BMX in many different ways. And obviously, I'm the happiest when I'm in nature and I'm riding a dirt kicker and a dirt landing.
So
Wow.
if I might ask you, who are the most that's a two-parter. So growing up, who was the most inspirational rider for you? And then today, is there anybody that you look to that you think, man, I just love this guy's stuff or his approach or whatever? Do you have something like that?
Um, Back then, I mean, I looked up, like I said, nasty. Like
Mm-hmm.
Cornastasio was like everyone's like dirt BMX idol
Yeah.
back then. And not saying he's not anymore. Like he is, I mean, he is one of the most talented B guys who's ever ridden a BMX bike. And still this day, like he rips on a
He still
BMX.
got it. Yeah, he still got it.
And it's super cool. But I gotta say, like now I look up to many different riders. I watch all kinds of different bike riding and I watch many different sports and
Mm-hmm.
I look up to many different people. But a lot of times I get distracted by like who I'm looking at. Am I looking at the skills that I like? I'm looking at the style of the rider. Am I looking at as a personality because most of them are my personal good friends?
Right.
Or what am I looking at? I'm a fan of everyone's riding because everyone rides different. And that's the beauty of bike riding, and especially in BMX, because everyone has their own style and their own ways to deliver tricks and style and brings a different taste to the course or
Yeah.
the dirt jumps. But
Yeah.
I gotta say, Sergio Leos,
Yeah.
who's a BMX rider out of Spain, he's always been until this day, till today, is one of my favorite riders out there. Just the
Okay.
way he rides a bike, how stylish he is, his tricks, and like how down to earth of a guy he is. And he recently just got into mountain bike riding as well, so that's super cool. But I gotta say, one of the best talents and biggest talents in BMX in the world right now is David Godziak.
Yeah. Yeah. He's wild.
Because what David can do on a BMX as well as on a mountain bike with so much ease and style,
Yeah.
in my opinion, not many people have that kind of a
Yeah.
talent.
What's your take on the whole Nitro Circus, Wiley? He's doing like these
Oh,
insane.
really?
Yeah. I mean, he's doing the most insane
Oh,
stuff.
dude, it's
Yeah.
unreal. It's
It,
it's unreal the stuff. Like the progression of R. Willie doing massive jump tricks. Like you can talk about like, oh, it's airbag and resi. It doesn't matter. Like
whatever,
the
right?
stuff he does on a bike, it's acrobatic gymnastic things that he's the only one in the
Yeah.
world who brought that into BMX, and
Yeah.
all credit goes to him. That's
Yeah.
absolutely unreal what he does on the bike. And I would have to say he's got at least 100, if not 200 world's first in his
Yeah.
bag. And he
Yeah.
still comes out every single week with something new
It's
that no one else can do.
it's incredible. He's like a machine,
It's so cool.
and yeah, I love it. Every time there's a new clip, and I've never met him, but he seems like just like on the surface. I know some people that know him, and yeah, it seems like he's a great guy and just really into progression and pushing things, pushing boundaries, and
Oh, yeah.
the sport needs people like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I know him. He's my friend. I've met him many times, ridden with
yeah,
him many times. Um, and it's crazy to watch him ride. And
he's a
I'm
wild
very,
man.
very stoked. He comes from a scootering background,
Yeah,
but he's a full-time BMXer, I think as well, still a scooter rider.
he's
But it's
still every once in a while he'll bust out some scooter clips.
oh, he's
Like
got it all day.
they're new clips of him doing some crazy thing on a scooter too.
Guys,
Yeah.
What,
R.
like a
Williams is a
razor
super
scooter?
talent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
Ryan Williams is a super talent.
Yeah. Yeah.
By any means on a bike ride, on a BMX bike. It's unreal what he can do on that bike.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
So it's
super
it's
cool.
super cool. I would love to be R. Willie one day, just for one day.
Yeah.
Just for
If you can live through it.
yeah,
Yeah.
just for one day.
Some of the stuff, man, it's just wild. All right. Well, listen, I mean, I feel like we should probably wrap it up. It's 8:30. We're getting, you got places to go, people to see. And, man, I just, I can't thank you enough for making this happen. And
Yeah, man,
Oh,
and
I feel
what a
like,
story too. Yeah, thank you so much.
I'm
I feel,
super stoked we made it happen. Thank you so much for having me here.
yeah, I feel like we just kind of scratched the surface of everything that you got going on, but, we really appreciate you making the time for us. And I'm sure our audience is going to eat this up. How how can people follow along with you if is there, is it Instagram or what, how do you put your message out there?
Mostly Instagram. I don't really do any other social media channels. I do have a TikTok, but I never post on it really. So Instagram is mostly what I do.
Yeah.
Or Facebook. But I would say Instagram. That's where I put up most of my travels, bike stuff, motorcycle stuff. We didn't even talk about like all my motorcycle
Right.
That's for the next
stuff.
episode.
I was gonna say let's wrap it up. This one up as an episode 1
Yes,
Yeah.
because I got a lot more to talk about. I'm sure you guys have a few more questions.
definitely.
I could talk a lot more, so I had to hold myself back here a little bit.
All right. So just don't put that tape back over that camera just yet, because we'll have you back on. So
Okay.
Yeah, and what's the Instagram handle? Is it
It's
just,
Danny Danny Josa Josa.
yeah, awesome.
Danny Josa.
what about this is there a company name for the shows that you do, or is it just under you and Instagram or
No,
something
so
like?
the one we do shows here that's based out of San Diego, that's Go Big BMX show team. Go Big
Okay.
BMX, very simple and easy.
Yeah,
The company has been around for 29 years, actually, might be 30 years this year. Funded by Dave Holden, who's a flatland rider, pioneer, coming from Oregon, living down in San Diego, giving us the opportunity to showcase what we can do and spread these cool messages. So that's all credit to him.
yeah.
But on the East Coast in Florida, that's my stuff is Cycle of Freedom.
I like it.
Cycle of
Okay.
Freedom. Yeah.
Cycle
Hey,
of Freedom, yeah.
is Ruben still involved with you on this? Is he out of San Diego? Is that
Which Ruben?
Ruben Castillo?
Ru-
Am I confusing something here?
Mike Castillo.
What's that?
Isn't that Mike? Who are we talking about?
No, Ruben.
No, Robert Castillo you're talking about.
Robert. Yes, thank you.
Robert.
Sorry. Yeah.
Because
Is
there's a
he-
Mike Castillo as well as Robert Castillo. Sorry, I
Yes.
wasn't sure.
Okay.
Yes, Robert is doing his own show team. It's
Okay.
called BMX Freestyle Team.
Right. You
I've
brought
done
him
shows
by.
for him as well.
Yeah, you brought him last time, or maybe a couple times ago.
Yeah, we met up
Yeah.
over here too. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
yeah.
it was here in the driveway.
That's
yeah,
right. Yeah, that was awesome, man, to see him again. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got his name wrong, but
Yeah, Robert's killing it out there. He's he's got multiple show teams running around as well. He's doing the same thing as us. There's
Yeah.
so many opportunities here in California and on the West Coast that there's plenty of room.
Yeah, yeah,
for
no
this many
doubt.
Teams. It's awesome.
Yeah. Plenty of food out there for everybody to eat. All
Yeah.
right. Hey, listen, the pride of Hungary, Danny Josa,
Thank you, sir.
thank
Was
you
the
so
key to the
much.
country, not the city. The key to the country.
I wish I had that key.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. And
Thank you so much for having me, guys. Thank you.
All right, brother. Yeah.
Awesome.
See ya.
Peace.